disrupted all the algorithms.
All the algorithms. Football changed the game. Never be the
I like
same.
that
Welcome
word.
to the program.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you are that word,
Yeah,
brother. So
algorithm.
Algorithm.
Sound like
no
something, don't
question.
Sound like something happening. You know what I
No
mean?
doubt.
And
no
we here to
doubt.
disrupt. That voice right there is none other than the legendary Michael Vick. Good to see you, man.
Hey,
And-
brother,
and
how you
thanks for
doing?
joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for
Always,
having me.
man.
For sure.
Absolutely.
We were off mic and we were just talking about some of the things. And I don't know, has anybody ever asked you about your college days at Virginia Tech from the classroom side? Because I know one of our great legends, the great Nikki Giovanni, was on faculty at Virginia Tech for a number of years. And so as we were coming in, asked, hey, Brother Vick, man, did you ever take a class with Nikki Giovanni? And your answer was a beautiful, what'd you say, man?
I did. I had her, I think my sophomore year, I had a class with Nikki, and she was so amazing that I used to, I always sat in the back of the class and just sit in the front, especially at Virginia Tech, because all they did was just pass paper up to the front to sign autographs, and then I have to pass them back. So it was kind of disruptive. So Nikki was like, yo, just sit in the back. Just sit. And, sitting in the back, I was more infatuated with every word that was coming out of her mouth because she was just legendary to me. I was honored to be in her class, and we had some good conversations in her class. She used to always put us. And
you hear the reverb?
Yeah, I hear a little double.
Yeah, she
I
used to
think we
always.
hear a little.
Yeah, hold on. We got.
Oh, they're saying something's wrong with your mic. Man,
Mike,
this is terrible,
Yeah,
man.
Mike.
That need to be in a volume of your book, man. You need to write a whole thing about that.
Yeah, no, it was a good time.
Okay, there we go. I think they have it. Wait a minute. What happened, Daryl? Can you hear us?
I can hear y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, while you was talking, your mic went completely.
I understand
I
that, but it
heard
seems like it's back now. I think it's back now. You're okay now, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, he's okay. It's back. Are you still recording, Daryl?
All right, keep recording. Don't stop it.
Then we're okay now.
Yeah.
We're okay.
All right, let's try to pick up right there. So, go back to where you were at the same store, and so Mike, just jump back in the same store.
No, so you were in class and you used to sit in the back, and so then you go ahead and tell us.
Sit in the back, and like I said, I used to pay attention to every word that came out of Nikki's mouth because she was just so legendary, and she spoke with so much precision and value, and everything was in volume. And she used to put us in groups, and we used to have these big discussions, and sometimes the discussions would get they would get really crazy and heated and intense. And I just remember that it was a night class too, being just one of my favorite classes to go to. And at Virginia Tech, I wish I would have spent more time, trying to be a better student, because I know I had it in me. It was just football, and it was overwhelming. It was a lot to handle, but that class was the class that I was always in. And she would allow me to miss here and there, but she always held me accountable, not just for me, but my teammates who, tried to cut class at times, and so she made sure we was always there in attendance, man. So some of my fondest memories of being at Virginia Tech, no doubt.
That's a beautiful thing, and I mean, in the sense as well that we typically think of student athletes. I've been teaching for a long time, and I tell the students all the time who play football, basketball, track, I say, y'all end up being employees of the university. I don't know, first of all, how y'all do it. Do all of that work and still come to class. But in that vein, you got what you needed to get at Virginia Tech, man. A relationship with Nikki Giovanni and being in class like that.
Yeah.
Look, you don't need another thing to do, but it seems to me there's a book in that. Between the two of y'all should collaborate on something at some point, because she just retired.
Nikki gave me a lot of leeway. You know what? I think I got an A in her class.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
I was always prepared. And that, like I said, that was one of the classes. I knew I couldn't. She always called me out. She was like, "You're the leader of Virginia Tech and the football team, and you got all these responsibilities. You got to be a leader in this." And she knew I was kind of shy and laid back, so she would always call on me to speak and to lead conversations. And so, we had a really deep class, man. Like we had some amazing dialogue throughout that year that I was in her class.
Thank you for sharing that with us, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that with us.
She's amazing.
No
lady.
question.
Now, Newport News is on, right? And
Born and raised.
there are a lot of people that came out of that Tidewater area, as we know. a lot of good athletes.
Yep.
And I remember following Allen Iverson when I was younger, and they would say how much of a great football player he was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then people athleticism that comes out of that region,
Yeah.
and being a dual threat. How did growing up in that area help to shape you?
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, it wasn't the easiest
Oh,
environment to grow up
That's
in.
microphones.
Your mic went out again.
Mike, your mic went out again, brother.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
There
you
we go.
Yeah,
Now it's
yeah,
back.
yeah,
Whatever they did, let them don't touch nothing after this.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You
Yeah,
just
well,
started. Go
I
ahead.
mean, it was, as a kid, it wasn't, the easiest environment to grow up in. I feel like every day I had to learn something, or every day it was a teaching moment. But it's what helped shape and mold us to become the men that we became, and the players that we became ultimately in our own right. I will say this: I wasn't as good a basketball player as Allen was, and Allen probably wasn't as good a football player as I was.
yeah, yeah.
So I would love to trade those talents. Like I wanted to play basketball, but I just, we was all here put on this earth to do what we do. But yeah, our neighborhood, man, consisted of so many things. But like I say, and I tell everybody, I always wanted to, be a product of my environment. You know what I'm saying? Not be a product of the environment, let the environment be a product of me.
Yeah.
I had goals and aspirations as a young kid, so I had to learn to navigate and make the right decisions in order to not end up in a place where I didn't want to end up, because I seen so many of my friends go down the wrong path. A lot of my friends that I'm cool with, still tight with to this day, my best friends, and they know who they are. We always just tried to be rational, man, with our decision making. And so, I know growing up, fishing became big for me. That kept me out of the neighborhood, and obviously, football, was my sanctuary, the Boys and Girls Club. So that's how I was able to navigate that.
Like Denzel talk about the Boys and Girls Club in New York.
Yeah.
But you've always had the intellectual side. I mean, you've written your story before, and obviously anybody sit and listen to you in interviews is very clear about that. But you taking a quantum leap with this thing we're here to talk about today, man. I mean, I think about Bill Rhoden's work and Howard Bryant, who's written about the black quarterbacks, but you in this multi-episode work are taking it to another level, because there's generations now who won't crack the books in the way that probably we all did, who are now going to have access to an important genealogy. I mean, I'm a son of Tennessee State University, so we all learned about the man they called the Lord's Prayer, Eldridge Dickey. But now in Jefferson Street, we learned about Jefferson Street Joe Gillum. I knew Joe Gillum's father, Joe Gillum Sr., who was really a genius in terms of offense. Right. But now a whole generation is going to learn a genealogy of black men who used their minds before anything in their bodies moved. Yeah. And that's because you are translating it. What were you after with this work, man?
A lot of people always come up to me and say, Mike, you changed the game, you revolutionized the game, you made the position what it is today. I always felt like it was honorable to pay homage to those who came before me. And I would always be like, well, have you ever seen Donovan McNabb, or you ever seen Charlie Ward, or you ever seen, you heard of Warren Moon, and these guys who I watched and paved the way for me, I watched really closely. Growing up, I watched their journey, their football journey, their quarterbacking journey, and I feel like in order to get to where we are now, guys, they were trailblazers. They had to pave the way, and there was a lot of hardships, a lot of interesting stories, and all our stories are different. Some run parallel. Some guys had to go through the same thing. Some was told it was too small, wasn't smart enough, had to go a different route. And so when people come and say, I changed the game, and I say, have you heard of this guy and this guy? And they like, no. I'm like, well, I don't expect them to know the football history because I'm a football connoisseur, so I paid attention, and it's always express it to my wife, and she'll be sitting right there, and she's like, well, maybe you should talk about it. Maybe you should bring people into your world. If it's something that you don't, when you hear it, it don't sit well with you, then maybe you can find a way to express what you feeling and allow people to learn the history. And so I reached out to this amazing guy, Anthony Smith, who was working with the NFL Network. He's sitting right next to me. I don't know if you want me to mention the NFL Network.
Oh, please.
An integral part of Smack Productions, and we threw the idea back and forth, me, him, and my wife, for a couple years on what this story would entail, what we was trying to get out of it. Because it's easy to just talk about it, but we wanted to make it personal. We wanted to sit down and have guys share their stories and stories that these young quarterbacks in the game today, who are so privileged, can meet some of the trailblazers who paved the way for them. They look at me, I'm probably 15 years senior. They're senior, but I'm like, it's guys that was before me. Check them out.
Right.
And so this is how we came to the conclusion of making this happen, and just some really cool stories, man. We was just talking in the back, and somebody was just saying, we was talking about position changes, and if I would have changed my position, which I was told that I wouldn't be able to play this position by certain people, what the game would be now if I didn't stick to my guns and keep pushing.
Yeah.
How about that?
So to that point, and the name of the docuseries is called Evolution of the Black Quarterback, and it's a series that pays homage to the rich history, celebrates the progress, and sets sights on the future of the quarterback position. Yep. Now, I got a chance to watch the first episode, and I can say to your point, it's the right project at the right time, and you are absolutely the right person to do it. So I'm glad you saw it through, because you speak of evolution. You have gone through your own personal evolution. So to see you, like in the first episode, run up on Goodell, and Goodell have him say what he said to you, and sort of that kind of validation. And he was like, I love you, boy. I love you, boy. And he was like, I love you too. Yeah. And then just to go into I'm a basketball
guy. And it's
so,
genuine love, and that's
and it look
love.
And you could tell.
We've been through a lot together over the years as people.
Yeah.
But
Evolution.
They helped me evolve and mature as a man. My direction was, it was headed in a different direction. It was south.
Yeah, and you could see all that. And so, my father was a baseball guy, but he knew football legend and stories. So in that first episode, when you trace him from the very beginning, from Fritz Pollard, and then all the way up until the first quarterback, the first black drafted, the first black started
in the league, because we've been quarterbacks all along, sure, as you showed.
And then the gap in when George Preston Marshall from the great Redskins said, "Hey man, they don't need to be playing at all after the Great Depression." So you had a 12-year gap, and then coming back from that, then you had the first to start Marlon Briscoe, and then each of these firsts and these names that I had never heard of, it gave me a greater appreciation. That's why I say it's the right time for what we see now. When they said we couldn't, now on Sunday, half the teams is led by black quarterbacks. Yeah. So I really thought that was dope.
Yeah, and I think it's a true testament to the National Football League, man. When I talk to people, and because I feel like we had to be precise when we was doing this. You just can't title a project The Evolution of the Black Quarterback without people thinking, oh man, that's going to be a little divisive, or no. This is a celebration of how far we've come, an entity that I've grown to love and still have an infatuation with, the NFL, from since I was a 6-year-old kid and wanting to play in the National Football League. I think they're a big part of the growth, what I'm saying, on and off the field. The brotherhood, the sisterhood that we share, black, white, and indifferent. Our locker rooms is a mixed bag. It's cultural. And so it was a thing in the 70s to be stereotyped, but it's not that way in 2024. Yeah. And so between coaches and general managers and owners giving us an opportunity and saying, I want that guy. I don't care what he looked like. I don't care what, I'm trusting the process. Man, that's big for us, man. That's big.
Yeah.
That's the evolution. That's the evolution.
Yeah.
That's progression.
But
And it's this entity, the NFL's entity, allows us to grow, and hopefully, you know, people on the outside watching, they'll continue to implement those same principles, morals, and values into their corporations.
But it's interesting, Brother Vick, as you talking, and shout out to your wife as well as Anthony Smith for
Oh yeah, no
being
doubt.
that team.
Yeah, for Anthony,
you know,
absolutely.
absolutely. Thinking about that, it is a celebration, and it's also really a classroom where you don't engage, you don't look away from the difficult conversations. So just being in conversations with James Shaq Harris and others, and that whole generation of HBCU quarterbacks, you center them early.
Yeah, and you spent a lot of time.
With them. And so in just the conversation, it allows you to engage in a critical analysis that's also a celebration. I'm thinking about all those brothers who, you sitting with Warren Moon. See, I'm old enough to remember when Warren Moon had to go to Canada, right? And he wanted him to change positions, right? But then there are the other ones like Joe 747 Adams, who was at Tennessee State, who never got a chance. He was in college, he was in Canada. Willie Satellite Totten at Mississippi Valley, who threw to Jerry Rice, who never got a chance. You centering those HBCU quarterbacks in that first, and then bringing it through intergenerationally to the Cam Newtons you sit with and Dak Prescotts that you sit with, to those young boys you see in episode 3 when they giving you your props.
Yeah.
You don't look away from anything. And I'm wondering, what was the thought behind how you plotted out the narrative? Because you sit with Colin Kaepernick. I'm sure there were some people who said, wait a minute, hold on. But you had so surrounded it and oriented it so you could talk to everybody about anything and let them tell their stories. What was the thinking about how y'all put together the narrative of this documentary?
Well, first of all, let me give credit to Anthony Smith and Kiafa for thinking this whole thing through. And it's other people like that was involved in this. It certainly wasn't me. I wasn't smart enough to put all this together the way it came together. I'm just very fortunate I was very fortunate to be the talent. To be able to sit down with these guys and get some perspective from a Shaq Harris or a Doug Williams or a Warren Moon, who I felt like, even Donovan, the stories were just so intriguing and so compelling. To be able to sit down with those guys, man, and just have cordial conversation, and it was something that they really wanted to do and speak on, and they had the platform to do it. You look at those quarterbacks. In today's NFL, Warren Moon is a first-round pick.
No question.
Shaq Harris, they all going the first round
simply
because of the talent.
Just off tape.
Just because of the talent, they all will go in the first round in the 2025 draft.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool to be able to say, because we couldn't say that maybe 30 years ago, 25 years ago. I was fortunate enough to be on that podium as the first African-American quarterback to get drafted. That wasn't even a thing in my head when it happened. I didn't know that, history was made. I don't think Dan Reeves drafted me to make history. He drafted me because I presented myself well. He had respect for me, and he felt like I could lead the team and the franchise, and also Arthur Smith. And so I think they did that subconsciously without even thinking that it was a thing. We was trying to break barriers or not. It wasn't about that. It was just about getting a good quarterback in the building who we trust and who we like, and we want to, dedicate our time to and make him our guy for the next 15 years. So, man, it was just an amazing story. It was a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of traveling, a lot of moving around.
So, okay, so
Anthony,
that's
like, we gonna travel the world and we gonna go find these guys and see what's going on.
Wow.
That's what I was going to get into next. That was the first thing I noticed. Shout out to the location scouts, because the way you move in and out of story by way of place, I thought made it a outstanding watch. So you got Larry Wilmore at the Magic Shop talking about Shaq Harris. You walking up on Gramblin's Field talking to Doug Williams, and then you go into the race car Hall of Fame situation in Charlotte.
With
Joe Gibbs.
See,
I'm like,
that's the thing. I
thought that was dope too.
We felt like we had to be super diverse in this, man. That's what I loved about it. Andy and Roger and Joe. Joe had some amazing stories on Doug and why he gave Doug that opportunity and what it meant. And so we was just trying to dive into the minds of what was happening in real time in the 80s, and, how it runs a parallel now.
Tony Dungy at the African American History Museum was super powerful.
He is.
Super powerful. I really appreciated that. What was your favorite story? Out of all the stuff that you covered, what stood out to you the most?
Is that fair? That's not a fair question, is it?
I know, man, because there was so many good stories, man. And just going back and watching, like, I was just caught up in what everybody was saying. My favorite story, I think, was probably Warren's story, man. Having to go to Canada for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And knowing how that must have felt. When you dream of playing in the National Football League for all those years, and then that opportunity is right there at the cusp, and then the decision is made because of other reasons.
Yeah.
That had to hurt. But he made up for it, and he came back, and look, he got his opportunity, he got his shot, and he made the most of it, and now he's a Hall of Famer. And so I had to respect that really on a different level. Also, Tony Dungy, to know that Coach was a quarterback, and then Coach he was one of those guys who had to go play DB. And thank God he was good enough to do it, because he was able to make a life out of himself. But, those stories was really cool.
There are a couple of quarterbacks who you didn't get a chance to interview because, they've passed away. And you mentioned Tony Dungy, of course, makes me think of Jefferson Street Joe Gillum for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, in all rights, probably maybe we never know Terry Bradshaw. But, of course, Gillum gets off, spirals, goes to Canada, back and forth. And another player, of course, you didn't get a chance to interview, Steve McNair from Alcorn State.
Steve,
by way of, But when you mentioned Warren Moon, of course, I remember growing up number one for the Houston Oilers. We didn't even think about him being in Canada before that. How do you think, in terms of the evolution of the game, particularly at the college level, and hearing Warren Moon say that nobody was looking at him, he couldn't find a college, and I'm thinking all those HBCUs, but it's a different level.
Yeah.
What Deion Sanders, it looked like he was trying to start at Jackson State, but it didn't continue. Can you see a future where historically black colleges become places where Michael Vick or Donovan McNabb, a quarterback, like a Patrick Mahomes, can come out of at the collegiate level, an HBCU? And how do you see the evolution of the game in terms of money, all this NIL stuff, and is that going to disrupt? Like, what would Michael Vick have done with an NIL deal at Virginia Tech?
NIL is just based on how much money you trying to dish out. It's good to see that college players are getting paid for their name, image, and likeness. I think it's long overdue, and maybe to keep some kids in college a little longer. If they don't aspire to go to the NFL early, they can make some money, pad their pockets, and continue to grow, as young men. But look, man, it's just a different day and time. It's a different day and time. The game is changing all across the board. Opportunity is there for everybody, and you just gotta, stay the course, believe in yourself, believe in you, and those a lot of those stereotypes and things that we went through back in the day, it's just not there anymore. So we celebrating that, and I'm proud to be a part of it, man. Like I said before, and
Absolutely.
Name, image, and
Absolutely.
likeness for Mike Vick. You already know what it was. I'd have stayed in college 4 years. I would have went to all my classes if I had $1 million. I wouldn't have had to leave as a red shirt sophomore, man. I mean, I wasn't ready for the NFL. I didn't want to rush my life. I wanted to enjoy college. I want those 2 years back. I still want those 2 years back to this day.
I know that's right.
Yeah, I cried having to leave all my teammates, man, because it was that much love for them. But yeah, man, y'all see Anthony Smith right here, the mastermind.
Yeah, we gonna pass it. Hey, man, thank you for sharing that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, Brother Smith?
Good.
Man, this is something. Man, Smith said he cried when he left.
Yeah, indeed. So, a question for both of y'all, and y'all can choose how to answer or if to answer at all. Back in the day, the question of the black quarterback was based on mental capacity, presumed mental capacity, right? Now all of a sudden there's an influx. That's the type of quarterback that you go after. And you hear voices like recently, Tom Brady, criticizing how much the game has changed. And I'm not a fan of Tom Brady. I don't think he's criticizing how much the game has changed. He's criticizing the influx of black quarterbacks. What do you say to those types of voices? How do you respond to that type of criticism?
Yeah, I go first real
Yeah.
quick, Anthony. Unless you Drew Brees or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady,
Mm-hmm.
you better be able to move in the game now. You better be able to
Facts.
you better be able to move and get away from them guys that's ferocious and they, 265 pounds, lean and strong, and they coming to get you. And unless you can process it real quick and be decisive like those three guys I just named, there's probably a couple other guys, but those three are the elite of the elite, first ballot Hall of Famers, and y'all know why I'm saying it.
Yes, sir.
You better be able to move in today's game, and I'm pretty sure Anthony, from hearing all these interviews, he can attest to that as well.
Well, look, I'll just add, the project is the evolution of the black quarterback, but really what it is the evolution of the game. The game has changed.
Yep.
And as Michael mentioned, we were in the green room in the back talking before, and Michael, mentioned Arch Manning last week, who took off and was gone.
It was faceted
last week.
Tyreek Hill, apparently.
So the game has changed. Even Aaron Rodgers, who was playing last night, back in Aaron Rodgers' prime, Aaron Rodgers would move around in the pocket. Like, you have to be able to move now. And, when you think about the evolution of the black quarterback, it's really the evolution of football in general. But you guys asked Michael something earlier that I actually want to chime in, because you asked him about his favorite moment. I actually had two favorite moments, but they both have to do with Michael and the respect and love that so many of these, not just athletes, but people outside of sports have for him. And the first one was Cam Newton. So Cam sitting down and talking about the fact that he used to try to wear what Michael was wearing. He had the chapstick that Michael had. And said that he grew up in Atlanta watching Michael. And that was the very first one that we did. But that set the tone for everything that came after, because it was a number
interesting.
of stories. It was a number of stories like that, and everybody had their own stories. And then the second one was with Jamie Foxx. So Jamie Foxx, and I'll tell you just how important this project was to I'm gonna be honest, just to people within the culture. So Jamie, we all know he had his health battles last year, and before we filmed with Jamie, Jamie agreed to do it, and then he ended up having the health battle. The week that we were initially supposed to film was when he first went into the hospital. So we reached back out months later when we saw that he was on the mend. Not to sit down and do an interview, but just to be like, hey, we're here that you're well.
Yeah.
Just want to let you know that we love you, we have love for you, and we're still going to find a way to honor you in this project because you played Willie Beeman. You was an iconic black quarterback.
Willie Beeman.
So we were just saying, we're going to still find a way to honor you. And him and his team were like, do you still want to do this? So we were like, wow, because that's not what
Are you serious?
Expecting. We went over there, and the love that not just Jamie, but Jamie's had family over there, and the love they had for Michael, that was just a special moment. Yeah, people in tears, and Michael and Jamie were
laughing the whole time. I'm telling you, any behind the scenes footage that we can show of that, man, Jamie is hilarious, man. It was so much fun.
It was everything.
It was so much fun to hang with him, man. I think that was a cool collaboration for this project.
Well, we need those outtakes, man, because y'all got so much footage, man. I tell you. Hey, Brother Smith, just right quick, because I know we run up against the clock, but you did Fritz Pollard, The Forgotten Man.
Yep.
This is, among many other than Jim Brown, this collaboration, as we were saying to Mike at the beginning, it really approaches this subject in a way that can be a model for other stories that we can tell about black folk. You start at the beginning, and you don't leave anything out. But the key seems, how important was it for you to have Mike Vick, who everybody has respect for, really emerge kind of organically in these conversations as the through line that carries that its entire narrative from the origin to today?
Well, what's crazy is, so I've known Mike for a few years now. We've done projects before this, and this is always something that's been passionate to him, passionate for him, telling the story, and then meeting his wife, seeing the passion that she had for this project, that and the story of the black quarterback, and telling Mike's story is something that she had passion for. So that's one reason why it's important. But also when you think about the evolution, like Mike is the perfect guy because Mike is the one that's right there in the middle of the evolution. Like he's somebody that's old enough to remember seeing the legends like Doug and Warren, but he's also
Yes.
young enough to have inspired all these guys that came after. And when you think about 1978, so 1978 is a big year in the evolution. That's the year Warren and Doug both come out of college. So 23 years after that, 23 years, Michael Vick's the first black quarterback drafted #1 overall in 2001. 23 years after that, we're in 2024 about to drop a series. So literally,
That's insane.
He is right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So,
Insane. And
so
to watch
that's
you
the
in there with
perfect
those
first
young boys giving you your props, man,
Yeah.
that was a special moment at the
Yeah.
beginning of episode 3 when you walk into the combine and all them young cats come up and thank you, man.
Yeah.
You're right. You're the perfect guy. He's
Yeah.
the perfect guy.
And just in, and
Evolution.
just in closing, man, just to pay homage. In 2005, this is one of my fondest memories, man. It was a Sports Illustrated article that came out in the front cover. I'm saying I am a quarterback, and there was all these questions circulating. You got to be a pocket guy. You got to change the way you play. You can't run the ball. And I was just caught in the, rocking a hard spot for so many years on how should I play this game. I'm in the West Coast system. Should I run the West Coast system? Should I run it like Steve? And should I run it like Joe? Or should I be like Donovan? Or should I be who I was in college and who Dan Reeves drafted me to be? So I fought a long time with the press. And it's funny because now I'm a part of the press. I'm a part of media.
Press run.
I'll be honest. So I know what it's like to be on the other side. But I fought hard, man. So the dual threat quarterback can exist to this day, whether black, white, and different, whether you can line up behind the center, you can throw it, or you can run it. And nobody's going to say you need to stop running or you need to be this or you need to look like this. Go be you. Go ahead, go. It's okay to look like Mike Vick. It's okay to look like Lamar Jackson. It's okay to look like Donovan McNabb. Do you.
That's right.
Keep the chains moving. And I think that's when Anthony spoke about the evolution of the game. That's what this embodies, is the evolution of the game.
Yeah.
We appreciate you,
Outstanding,
Mike
man.
Vick, Anthony Smith, Tiapa Vick.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what a team. Thank you.
What platform? Evolution of the black quarterback.
Yes.
What platform can we
Absolutely. Prime Video, September 24th.
Prime Video.
Shout out to
September
Amazon.
24th.
Shout out to Amazon.
Yes,
for
sir.
making this possible.
Shout out.
No doubt.
Appreciate
No
y'all for
question.
coming
Yes,
through,
sir.
man.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all.
Doors
man.
open anytime, man.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. We'll be back.
All right,
Love it.
fellas.
One.
Thanks
One.
so much.
All right, Urban View Mornings back after a quick break.
Thanks, y'all.